Hi, everyone. Welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm Marisa B, your host. And today I'm so thrilled, and it's a privilege to have with me Ulrike Selleck. I hope I said that correctly. Ulrike is an opera singer, an author, an artist. She's an energy healer, and she's an Ayurvedic cook. Hi, Ulrike. Thank you so much for coming today to speak to the audience.
Hi, Marissa. So sweet of you to ask me. And I'm thrilled to be here. And wow, you got a lot of things in there. And it's true, all these things.
Isn't it true that we really don't think about it until we hear it from someone else? I mean, you have had such a wonderful, wonderful career. Can you tell me a little bit about it? I know that you are an opera singer. Can you tell me a little bit about how that all started?
Yeah, it actually started when I was, in the womb. My mother was an opera singer.
Oh,
She
lovely.
actually, the day she got the invitation to be a major lead singer at the Zurich Opera was also the day that she got tenure. What is it called when you have a fixed position at a school as a music teacher? And because she was pregnant with me, she made the decision to play it safe. So that's where it all started for me. Mm-hmm. I grew up with music. I'm a fourth generation classical singer. And so I participated in choirs, and I was a piano protege, and everything that went with that kind of a dharma, with that family dharma. My mother gave house concerts, and I performed in competitions and all that. And but I was an introvert. And for an introvert, it's really hard to always be on the stage and be showcased and prodded on. And so that was really tough. And when I was 5 years old, I drowned and was fished lifeless out of the water. That's what people told me on the outside. But I was actually in total, utter bliss. I was home with God. And there was nothing missing. It was just the most peaceful, cozy. It was like family times a million, only the good parts of family times a million. And I was just so happy. Oh, yes, I remember this. Oh, God, nothing to worry about, nothing to compete, nothing to. And I could feel myself being pulled back out. I'm going, So then I was back. They got the water out of my lungs, and I was back in life. But I had this experience. And interestingly enough, I don't know if you're familiar, or many of your listeners are familiar with Jyotish. Jyotish is Eastern Vedic astrology. They go by the rising sign that actually is at the cusp of coming up at that moment. So it's very specific, very precise. And according to that, around the time of that having happened, I went into what's called a Saturn Mahadasha. 15 or 17 or 19 years of Saturn. It started with me drowning and being home with God. And many people go, oh my God, you drowned. Are you okay? Was it scary? Sure, there is about a minute of when you panic and you're going, okay, I'm breathing in water. It can't be good. I'm joking now. I was a little girl. I had no idea. Right. But I was aware of that. But suddenly you lift out and you're home. And so it was not scary. Almost at no point was it scary. But then coming back into the world, I had an awareness from then on that this was not my world, but this was my world. And all my life, I've been wanting to go back home, basically, through whatever God threw me bones, breadcrumbs leading me through life. But that was my identity early on. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that, even though it's unusual. And certainly my parents were freaked out. Where it happened, my girlfriend there actually told my mother, yeah, that's what happened. And, it freaked them out, but they saw that it was only good for me. And so after that, all I wanted to do was be back home. So whenever we went into the mountains with my parents, I would sit down in the grass. Everybody else would hike or play or be rambunctious. And I would just sit in the meadow and watch the spiders crawl over my hand and be mesmerized by a flower petal and just sink into it. You can see I have some photos, not here, but on my computer, of me being a little girl and just sitting there in just bliss. And that's basically who I am on the inside. on the outside, I come across as loud and German and colorful and active and constantly talking. But believe me, back then, I wasn't talking very much. I was really, really shy. And so when I was 20 years old, finally, after going through hell and back as a teen, because everybody wanted to go on parties and I didn't like parties. I just wanted to be home with my cat and my turtle and read books. But I had a lot of activities. But then I turned 20 and God finally threw me that bone that I've been waiting for, and gave me a boyfriend who said he would break up with me if I didn't learn TM. TM is transcendental.
Yes.
And so I thought, boy, I really liked him. And I thought, okay, well, I guess I could try it. So he told me to bring fruit and flowers and a little handkerchief. So I got everything that showed up. And there he was in the room with the incense, waving the incense and waving the flowers, going, oh, fuck, I don't know. So I got really scared. I was a good German girl. I grew up in a post-war era. My parents were little children during the war. They had drummed into my head, do not follow a leader, do not follow a guru, ever listen to somebody else telling you what to do, and certainly don't follow a cult. So all this stuff was like lively in my brain. So on the inside, I literally thought, okay, I'm going to pretend I follow the instructions, but as soon as he's done, I'm going to be out of here. I mean, he's nice, but it's not worth this. I'm going to be gone. So he teaches me, I sit down, I close my eyes, and within 15 seconds, I was home. Tears were streaming down my face. And I was exactly in the place that I had only tasted for a few minutes when I was 5 years old. It was exactly the same coziness, hominess, enveloped in divine, just home with God, no worries, no anxiety, no concerns of anything, just being home. And that was it for me. You know, I was attending language school at the time. I studied 4 different languages, French, Italian, Serbo-Croatian, and English, which I didn't speak at the time, in Germany, in Munich. And I stopped everything. I just went straight into taking courses, meditation courses, became a Siddha of the Age of Enlightenment as the next step up technique. And then I wanted nothing other than get enlightened. So that meant I wanted to be with Maharishi. And so I went more inward. On my city course, I was approached after a couple of weeks. I was approached by the national leaders, meditation leaders of Switzerland, and they said, "Would I like to be near Maharishi?" And I'm going, "You what now?" They needed somebody for staff, and I said, "I'll do anything. I'll clean toilets. I'll do anything. Just one thing. I'm sure it's not a big deal. One thing I really hate." Cooking. So if you don't mind, I'll do anything else, but please don't put me in the kitchen. Well, next morning, 8:30, yours truly shows up to chop the vegetables.
Oh, wow.
But I was fine with that because I wanted to be with Maharishi, and I was with Maharishi, and that's all I wanted. I just wanted the fast track to enlightenment. That's all I wanted. So whatever it took, I'd do it. Turns out I was actually a really good cook. Within a year, the first year, I cooked for 130 people by myself with some help, being taught, of course, by somebody very wise who was a very good Ayurvedic cook. But I got really good at it. So after that year, the 10, what we call top ladies who were around Maharishi, traveling with them and everything, actually asked me if I wanted to cook for them exclusively and then even travel with them. So after a year and a half of being there in Switzerland, I was asked to travel, and we traveled within Europe, you know, to Italy and Croatia, Greece, Cyprus, I forget where else. And one day, I never knew where we were going because I was just staff. I just was happy with whatever. I wasn't like a career-oriented person, if you know what I mean. So, and one night at 4:00, they knocked on the door again. We're traveling again. Have your stuff ready. And of course, I always have my suitcase ready. And you know how in Europe, you go up and you go down when you go anywhere, basically. There's no cruising altitude because, you know, you're already there. You almost over the airplane, you know, basically climb up and then you go down and you land. Well, for some reason, we kept going up and up and up and up.
Oh, wow.
I'm going, okay, well, what's going on? And suddenly the pilot says, Jay Gurdjieff, Maharishi, and everybody else, he named everybody. in a few hours, we'll be landing in Toronto, Canada.
Oh, wow.
I'm going, fuck.
Mm.
I didn't know. So that was my way of leaving Europe, completely just surrendering to the highest, whatever that was. I just had complete trust. I still do. I still know that every single thing in my life, even the really, really hard things that I'll talk about in just a second, were absolutely part of the plan. And once you surrender, you're just okay, going up and down and all around. And so we landed there. And after some time, we went to Washington, D.C. We stayed there for 6 weeks. And then we drove on or flew on to Fairfield, Iowa, which I am now at.
Yes.
And have been for the past 40 years. And that is, of course, where MIU is, where Mercy International University is. I became a student here. I taught cooking classes for my livelihood, Ayurvedic cooking classes. I left Mercy. I left Mother Divine, with whom I had been for 2.5 years. And it was a sad goodbye, but it was the right thing. I met my husband, to be ex-husband now. We had our son, and I became a regular householder. And then after all this going inward for almost all my life, suddenly I got very sick. I had just become a TM teacher. I went to Canada for 5.5 months to become a TM teacher so I could teach meditation. And when I was, the year after that, when I was teaching in the field, initiating people into TM, I suddenly got really sick. And we went to a doctor here, and he came in all round and didn't even look at me, and just had a ruler in his hand, went up to my throat and said, or it's 2.5 inches, blah, 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 blah. I'm going, dude, that is so not whom I want to be treated by. So we had known Deepak Chopra for many years because he came to MIU, you're probably aware.
Yes.
And he taught meditation techniques other than TM. He taught some advanced techniques. And every year we had gotten those techniques. And so he's known me for a while. And so we flew in a blizzard in the middle of the night in December of 91. We flew to him in Boston, Lancaster, where he was still at that point.
Yes.
He saw me. He was really kind. He saw me at 10 o'clock at night or so. I still remember standing in his office. It was all wood paneled, all cozy. It felt really enveloping. I felt enveloped by love. And outside, where blizzard was raging, we had just flown through the blizzard. But I felt really secure. I felt like, it's going to be okay. And so he examined me. He said, yes, you do have thyroid cancer. And here's why. For as long as I've known you, you've been an introvert and really quiet. You never say no. You never speak up. Now the energy in your throat is blocked, your throat chakra. He was the first one to mention the word chakra. I had no idea what it was. And he said, if you want to heal, you have to learn to sing, and you have to learn to express yourself. And I was like, oh. And the strange thing is, my whole family is singers. Everybody is a performer. My mother was an opera singer. Why the hell did I forgo that to go inward? Well, as an introvert, you want this first. You need to first be secure in yourself. Then you can have the courage, the stamina, the connection to home to go into the world. And I'm finally now in that point where I feel.
And it's such a paradox.
Okay.
It's a paradox, because you sang young. And and you were good at it, and you come from that background, but you still were introverted, and it was something you did not want to do, even though you have that talent.
Exactly. I so did not want to be like my mother. She taught music and singing. Hello. She was an artist. Hello. She was on the stage performing with orchestra arias. Hello. But I had no idea. I literally wanted nothing to do with it because it was stressful. When you're a child, you want to be by yourself, and somebody makes you do all those things. It's not something you want to do. So that was basically my story. After I had been diagnosed, I started singing. My mom wrote me faxes, remember faxes, with vocal instructions. And, she was really concerned. I felt this sounds harsh and strange. They're no longer alive. I miss them every day of my life. I often cry about it. But it's all the way it was supposed to be. But this was the first time at the time that I felt that my mother loved me, that I wasn't her showpiece, that I wasn't being prodded on, that I wasn't not good enough, that she actually cared. She cried on the phone because she was worried I would die. And so for me, that was a reorientation that suddenly the door to singing became a little bit more open because the mother was more loving. She was a school teacher. She was a performer. She was a choir director. She was a conductor. She had all these things. And now she was my mommy who was worried about me, which was, oh my God, it had never even occurred to me. Isn't that sad? I mean, it is what it is, but oh my God. So from then on, I started to sing a little bit, and I was so blocked in that chakra. It took me 8 years to be able to sing fairly freely without a knödel in my throat, without a dumpling in my throat. It was really quite horrible in the beginning. I had a very low larynx and I had no high notes whatsoever. You know, for high notes, you need to lift here, which means you need to smile, you need to laugh, you need to yawn, you need to open, everything going up that I teach my students. I had everything going down, inward, closed. So it was almost painful to learn that. At the same time that I learned all that singing, I also learned energetic healing techniques. I learned tapping. I learned all 7 modules of Dr. Balvarsh Maharshi's Jyoti Atman. And that combination of that energetic healing of Dr. Balvarsh Maharshi, together with the tapping, together with my Sing Yourself Well 7 steps that I teach now, is
I was
now
going to say, because you're an author and you've written the book. How to Sing Yourself Well in 7 seconds. And so that is remarkable that that's come from your singing, that now you're giving that to all of us. And how did that come about? Because 7 seconds, someone hears that title, they're like, oh, how could that be? Right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it is actually something that developed over years of helping hundreds of students, private voice students. I taught in public school and homeschool and private school. I taught bunches of students. I have people come here every week to learn from me. And over the years, I had hundreds of clients who don't want to sing, but who came to me for a reason other than wanting to sing. You know, a loved one passed away, divorce, kids out of the home, career change, something that made them go, oh my God, I'm at a crossroads. And that is exactly what this does. And over these years, what I noticed with every single person that sat on my couch, it sounds cliche. It was actually a couch because it was my living room. So I'm not trying to be fried. I noticed that every single person who didn't know what to do with their life had a block in the throat. Now, the throat is the connection between mind and heart. And if that sucker is blocked, you can't communicate. You can't allow the feelings out and have the mind deal with it. Your mind is just going around totally vata deranged because it has to figure out literally everything without any help and input.
Right.
So you open that thing. So over these years, what I realized, this was blocked and I was guided. I didn't come up with the 7-second things. Believe me, 7 is my favorite number in all the universe. I always lived at number 7 and it's just always, but I didn't come up with it. Didn't try to fit it into 7 seconds or make it sound sexy, you know. It was actually something, okay, now you do this. Now you need to do this. Now you need to do that. Now do that. Okay, now do it faster. Now do it faster. Now do it faster. And there it was. And after healing or helping others heal, because I really don't want to heal others. First of all, that's not how it works anyway. You know this.
Right.
Freaking work. I have to.
Yes, right.
But I love to help. But I want to help by giving them the grain to plant in the soil so they can grow something. I don't want to give them the quick fix that then they go, oh, okay, I'll still do it occasionally, but I'm really not looking for clients. I'm looking for people to just invest in the $14 book, read it, go to my free YouTube video where they can learn it in 22 minutes and then they have it forever and they can and I can go, okay, good. Now it's up to you to
you've given it
fix yourself.
Right.
So after seeing the same thing happen with so many people, I got tired of always having to go through the same steps. So one day I just said, okay, I got to just write it down. So I just asked for guidance. Just tell me what to do. I didn't even type. I didn't even type at the time. I didn't type. I knew nothing about computers. My ex was capable of everything. So I didn't do anything other than do the household, barely that, and raise my son. And so suddenly after divorce, I didn't mention that. Yes, horrible divorce after 23 years of being married. Very, very painful. Emotionally, financially devastated, was on food stamps for a few years. I had no home. A friend in Connecticut took me in for a couple of weeks while I figured something out here. I knew nothing about the world. I had never engaged in the world. Remember, introvert, nothing to do with the world. So suddenly I was like, okay, what can you do? You can teach voice. So I started to make a little bit of money doing that. Then I gave healing sessions. But then in order to write a book, you need to actually learn how to type because they didn't have Otter back then. They didn't have the voice to text kind of thing. So I had to teach myself how to type, how to do computers, how to do websites, how to do everything. So I've self-published my book in 2016, and I literally learned everything from the ground up. But this has helped so many people. And every time somebody comes to me for a healing session, I will always do the integrative step of those 7 steps. It is incredibly valuable and efficient and effective. And I do it as a warm-up with my students here. So yes, if there's one life's work, that is the one. I recently had the great good fortune of getting feedback from author Jack Canfield. I don't know if you
Oh, nice. Yes, I know.
Yeah. So he said he read my book cover to cover. He loves my book. He loves the content. He loves the methodology. And he even went to the YouTube video and practiced the whole thing and did it at 11:30 at night. He did my whole 7-second sequence, and he gave me a really nice testimonial. And at some point I can post that too, but I haven't received it yet.
Oh, that's
so
lovely.
I know my book is very good. I just have to rewrite it to make it slightly more juicy in terms of stories, because there's so many stories that I didn't put in, because just like
I can't wait to read it. I can't wait to read. I can't wait to read it. I've ordered it. I can't wait to read it.
Thank you. I just watched your interview with Angelica. And she too grew up in Germany, where we just don't talk about emotions. We just don't. They don't exist. You just march on with life. You just like superwoman, just, you had something. Oh, get up. Don't cry. Move on. Like we used to treat guys here, which I think is also terrible, by the way. I think we need to listen to when little boys are hurt, we need to take them as seriously and hug them as much as girls. But, that's for a video. But anyway, that was my story, how this book came about.
And you do have the YouTube channel for that, because you have 2 YouTube channels.
Yes,
right? Because you have an art, which I was watching.
My art. I just started that. Yes. And then I have the one, Sing Yourself Well, that is even dearer to my heart, if there's such a thing. I was thinking a couple months ago, if I never were to paint another painting, I would be sad. If I never petted any of my 9 kitties, yes, I know we have 9 kitties. We took in a strain. She had 6 kittens. Don't even get me started. But I love them so dearly, as you could see from the picture. I would be sad if I didn't get to pet them. I would be sad not to see my son. I would be sad not to be, where I live. But I would be freaking furious if I had not shared my Sing Yourself Well with the world on a bigger scale. So I enrolled in a course that teaches you how to write a TEDx talk. And I'm now writing the TEDx talk, and I'm applying to 100 different organizations. I have already applied to 397 more to go.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's just so incredibly important. You remember the times when, like 50 years ago, when nobody knew about, or hardly anybody knew about meditation, or Zen, or Buddhism, or yoga. It was like, that's for weird people to do.
It's fun. No, it's funny that you say that. I was 12 years old. I don't know how I came upon it, but I was 12 years old when I read a book on transcendental meditation, and that was it for me at 12. After that, I practiced all the time. I mean, that's really? Just my favorite. Yes. And I don't even know where I got the book from. I cannot recall. I keep thinking, how come it was that I had gotten that book? Where did I get it from? But I read it at 12, cover to cover. I thought it was fabulous. And I started practicing from then on.
Oh my God. It's amazing.
Right, so it was definitely something no one knew, but no one knew. I mean, no one didn't hear about it.
So this is how it is about this part of our voice, that our voice is actually a healing instrument.
Yes.
We're so used to, and that's a big myth buster that I want to do right now. People think our voice is something that we talk with, communicate, that we have to voice our opinion because our opinion is like so very important. or that it's for pleasing others. Oh, she has a pretty voice. Or that it's for being dismissed, like you can't sing, you sing off key, or be quiet. It's for others to judge, like, how the hell did that happen? And I think it's for Kali Yuga's sake, because in Kali Yuga, everything is for the outside world. You know, what's important is power and money and all those superficial things, when really the little girls inside of us are going, no, it's actually about. So this is what it's like about the voice. The voice is our own healing tool. It actually has frequencies, low frequencies and low frequencies, and everything in the middle. And every note vibrates in a different area of our body. And in our life, if we don't sing, if we're not like opera singers where our body is all inflated and we're full of ourself, capital S self, and we're having good posture, and we have the power chakra going, we have everything engaged the way we did when we came out of the womb screaming bloody murder. Unless we have that, we are using our speaking voice. And our speaking voice has about 5 to 7 notes. Da 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 da. But our whole range is okay. That's our whole range, and every single person has that range. If they have a voice, if they can enunciate, if they can tone, they have a range of about 25 notes. Not 5 or 7, but 25. So what is going on with those upper registers, where our connection with divine is, where our intuition is, where our throat expression is, where our heart is? We use the heart and the power chakra a little bit. That's the speaking voice, you know, the chest voice area. But then the creativity chakra, the earth chakra, are mostly not used. For guys, a little bit more. That's why
right.
But all those finer qualities, the health in the body suffers when there isn't communication. So the 7-second sequence, somebody recently called it, it's a reset. It feels like a reset for the entire body, is exactly that. It makes you aware of who is healing, who needs to heal, who is in charge of life. It gives you a feeling of relaxation in the whole body. It aligns the whole body. It expands the whole body, because we need the lung capacity. We need our throat open. It creates expansion. We're already infinity. Might as well breathe in infinity and have our muscle memory realize, oh, right, that feels pretty natural. And then to get flow in the whole body, to create power, to know where our power chakra is and create this energy in our motor, know where the motor is and where the power for the whole body comes from. And then to send that power everywhere in the body as little bursts of energy. All that can be learned so that you can do it in 7 seconds. Every time, anytime you feel scared, you feel sad, unless it's overwhelming grief, and then you better do some healing on that, go to it, feel it, or talk about it, or tap it out or something. That's different. But even there, once, I'm talking a lot, ain't I?
No, go right ahead. Okay. No, I'm listening.
Once I'm with somebody who likes to break up a lot. We've been together for 14 years, but it's like, oh my, really again? So anyway, so there was one of those times, and I didn't want to live anymore. So I was on my way in the car into town, seeing a girlfriend who had been kind enough to invite me over for a meal. I was just beside myself. And a big truck was coming, one of those big, huge Mack trucks. And I literally had the thought, I could just drive against that thing and that would be it. I would be rid of all the pain. And everything, of course, happens very fast. So I was very fast. I'm Pitta, so I'm really fast, almost everything. So I held on to the steering wheel. The thing was coming towards me. I thought, okay, if you really mean what you've been teaching for years, you better get going and do exactly that, or you're just no good. Everything has been a lie in your life. You better do it. And then, of course, the other side goes, yeah, but that's different. That's other people. And that's not such a bad deal. And this is really horrible. And I don't want to live anymore. Blah, 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 blah. And the truck was coming closer. Okay, it's just a minute, seconds here. So I'm going, okay, no, you're going to just try it. You can always do something later, but right now you're going to just go. So I do the 7 steps, and I just start. With the first step and with the second. By the 3rd step, the truck had passed. I was like, oh, I feel good. Yeah. What was my, oh yeah, he broke up. Oh yeah, that was sad. Oh, my friend will help me. Are you kidding me? And there are so many times in our life when something less bad than that can be so easily dispersed for the moment. I am not saying that this is a fix all for everything.
Right.
I'm saying that if you're in a pinch, you're in a
Mm.
dentist's office and you're freaking out, you have cold hands, you don't want to go in, or you have an important speech to give, or you have a client that you're a little iffy about, or you have anything where you feel not in your center, feel like, or like, oh, or whatever emotion it is, any emotion other than neutral, happy, blissful, settled, grounded, guided, divinely guided self. You do this and it plucks you right into the moment, and not through some affirmations or long-winded meditations or talking to somebody and getting counsel, which all have a purpose, mind you. And all of those happen to me. I've done them all. I've practiced them all, and everything is valuable. But when you need a quick fix, you better go to the body. You better go to the antenna between heaven and earth, as I call it, that you already have. You already have your connection with divine. It's right there. It's right in your center. You better go to this and connect really fast in all the means possible, so that you can be in this moment present, fully present, not overshadowed by this and what happened in the past, what may happen in the future, and what this person said and this situation. All those things, they pull on us all day long. But when you're present for this moment, it's like, oh, okay, good. I feel good. So now what? Now what, divine? What now? What now? And then you muddle along, or you follow divine guidance for a while longer, and then something grabs you, and you the way we can feel that something is off is that we lean forward. That's oftentimes how I can tell with myself and with other people too. When they're like leaning forward, and as we do at the computer, right? Or when we're eating, lean forward a lot. When we lean down, the tendency is that the thoughts down spiral. We often feel down. We may not be aware of it, but if you're very brave one day, try it. Sit straight and watch your thoughts. Be in a fairly good, happy, neutralish mood. And then just practice leaning down. At first, you don't feel it so much, and you go, yeah, it's fine. I'm fine. And then suddenly those sneaky boogers will come. They land on you, and they go, oh, yeah, but what do I do about that? Yeah, and I got to worry about that. Oh, boy, I'm tired. I don't know. I really don't want to make any lunch. And suddenly the whole energy will have plunged. Or the other way that we curve away from self is leaning back. People think, oh, I'm just going to relax. I just feel like, taking a break, put their feet up, and suddenly the energy down spirals in the like, oh, I don't care very much way. Here we're too involved. Here we're not caring enough. Center is where you want to be. And this method gets you smack in the middle of yourself, listening to divine guidance. It clears the clutter for that moment, which sometimes can save lives, which it did for me. So,
well, how wonderful it is that we have this tool, that you've provided us with this tool, because it is so important. It is so important for people to have.
We already have our voice. We already have it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more we have to buy, or a CD to listen to, or this to go. We have it. Listen to the free YouTube, get the book, because it does explain, my book does explain why we don't sing and why we have to sing. And both of those are so important, because we need to prime ourselves when we take it seriously. Because otherwise it's like, yeah, that's nice, but I don't need that. Oh, yes, you do. It's like people saying they don't need to meditate, or they don't need to eat, they don't need to sleep. Oh, yes, you do.
Well, I just really can't wait to read it. But we don't want to take away from your art either, because your art is absolutely beautiful. Your art is vibrant, and it makes people happy. And I think that was something that you were going for. If I recall reading some of the information about your art, that you want to make it happy. Otherwise, why would you make it? But it really is beautiful. It's vibrant. It's alive. It speaks to everyone because of the vibrancy. Can you tell me a little bit about it? Because it's just so beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much, Marisa. Yeah, 3 years ago, so many of us, when everything stopped, I had actually, the funny thing is, before I get into this, once my mom died, she left me enough money to build my own studio. Talk about having my own studio on my own property, just like you're building right now. It's so valuable. But I was just done building it, and I had made a music studio up above so I could teach my students, because I was teaching all my voice students in an 800 square feet little place where they did 3 steps. They had to turn around and walk back, It was just not okay. So here they can just walk freely and sing and be operatic and dramatic and let it all out, which is so important. But down below, I put my art studio in a walkout basement. And at the time, I wasn't doing art.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't doing art. I don't know why I was doing this. I was doing it. And one day I was standing further away and I looked at the building and suddenly it hit me. My mom had in their house, in my parents' house, had a music studio where she was teaching voice up above, and she had a walkout basement art studio down below.
Yeah, nice.
You think that I was not aware that I had done that? It was unbelievable when I realized that it even looks like that from the outside, like that part. So anyway, my place was finished. I finally didn't have to go into town to do anything to teach or have my students come here. I could just walk across the lawn and be here. And so in 2020, in June, I did my first online class with a friend, just in a group setting, and we did a Matisse. Now, Matisse is one of my favorite artists of all time, colorful and free and goofy. And so I started with a little master copy of that. And then I just was hooked. I thought, my God, this is really freeing, to just not think, just use your intuition. Just what color do I not like now? Yeah. Just dip that. Now, the process is very similar to the 7 seconds. The process is being here now, being in the moment, not thinking ahead, not having a plan, not having a outline. Now, people are different. Everybody likes something different. For example, my dear friend of 40 years, who is my mentor in art, with whom I talk on Zoom every week, he's the opposite. He does tiny little miniatures. He makes realistic pictures, and then he does everything. He's superb. He's unbelievable. He's like a master artist. I'm the opposite of that. I'm totally in the now. Oh, I like this brush. Oh, this tool. Oh, this color. Oh, orange right now. I've got to have orange. And then you just put it down and you stay present. If you stay present, God will just guide you what to do now. Now, you're saying it makes people happy. Now, why is that? Maybe it's my consciousness, or maybe it's the playfulness. It could be any of those things. I think it's also the fact that the colors are very high vibrancy, very high frequency. There's nothing wrong with muddy colors, with earthy color, with the greens. Right now, the fall greens are beautiful, the coppers and the ochres and everything. That is very earthy. That has a more grounded frequency, and it's equally valuable for me, with my nervous system, with what I love. For example, I don't like minor key music. I don't like listening to sad music. The man I live with for the past 14 years loves it. It gets him emotional, and I don't need any more emotions. Thank you very much. I have them all in spades. So for me, when something happy, a happy emotion, favoring that which is closer to my own self, which is pure, unbounded bliss consciousness, is more healing for me. And so the people who tend to like to buy my art, or buy my wearable art, or my products, little mugs or pillows or whatever I have with the art on it, tend to be my tribe. They tend to be attracted to the higher vibrations. And that doesn't mean that, the other vibrations aren't equally healing for some people. But that took me a while, because I thought, why aren't more people liking my stuff? But how many of us meditate? How many of the 7 billion people in the world, is it 7 billion? I think so, meditate or do yoga or have talks like we have, where one person talks a lot and the other person is trying to really be very patient. Not so many. Most people talk about football or the weather or the this, that, and that's also equally valid. But to find who you are, it took me 64 years, you have to trust that this is okay. The way I'm feeling is okay. The way I express myself is okay. And if somebody else likes it, that's okay. If somebody else doesn't like it, that's also okay. There's no judgment. There's just being true to who you are and living that, singing that, painting that, healing that, sharing that, like you're doing with your podcast. You're just following the divine breadcrumbs. Okay, now I got to do that. Now I got to be on the board of that thing. Now I got to build my building. Now I got to heal these people, give this workshop. When we're true to ourselves, we are this expression of the unified field of source, of divinity, that particular flavor that nobody else is. But then there's a different flavor here that equally yummy and necessary. And sometimes we interact with them and sometimes we don't. But when we are true to who we are here to be and to express, then everything that comes into our life is right. That's why whenever we want something, we should say, if it's in the highest good for everyone, because we don't, God damn it, I want that Mercedes, you know, that we have an accident with it. We don't want that. We're too wise for that. So I want to say something else that escaped, but I'll bring it back.
But I do feel that the colors are almost electrifying. So you can't help but look at them and smile, you know, and the fact that they lend themselves well to wearable art. I mean, you know, let's face it, they are vibrant. And I mean, there's whole schools of thought on the vibrancy of certain colors that are used or not used, or some that are specifically not put in a work, and yours are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I know that your wearable art is beautiful. In fact, you're wearing something from your
I'm wearing the Paris kimono.
Yes. You know, it's funny because I actually looked at pillows. My husband built us a yoga studio exercise room, and I was looking at some of the pillows that from your artwork, and I said, oh, that would be so vibrant in a room that even though you're there to
close your eyes,
do yoga or meditate, but still it brings something in there. You know, that it makes you feel alive. It makes you feel, you know, connected to, I guess, all that electricity or that vibrancy.
I think the upper vibrations, the higher frequencies. I think so. I think really that's what it is. And, you know, seasoned art critics may look at my art and go, oh, well, you didn't mix them enough. You know, I took so many art classes, really good art classes. One of my favorites is by Nicholas Wilton. He does this, the name CVP, Creative Visionary Program. I've done it 2 years in a row. It's incredibly valuable. He teaches a means of mixing colors with each other, which is valid, which makes them, as he calls it, richer, but it dampens their vibrancy. It makes them more earthy, which is great if you want to make a picture of a landscape that's realistic, wonderful. When I want the vibrancy of an uplifting feeling, like you're jumping on a trampoline, or you're taking a dive in the ocean, or you know, it's Christmas morning, you're jumping up and down because you got your Barbie doll at 14 years, finally, after my parents never wanted me to have one because it wasn't cool. All these emotions, these up emotions that bring us closer to God, literally, because, hello, divine chakra is up above, not down below. For when you want that, then those colors are okay. And I had to, you know, when I enter art competitions, which I've only done once, and I don't know if I'll ever do it again, because, you know, again, that's the relative, that's being approved by others. I don't know if I need that at this point. I want to create from within. And if somebody loves it, I'm so happy, because it's like you find your family, your tribe. It's wonderful. But if not, then that's okay too. So you have to not mind that you're being judged by the standards of the New York art critics or some other gallery owner, which is fair because they live in that world and that is how they do it. But that's not how we as artists or as spiritual beings have to live our life. We're sort of restructuring this. Your podcast, excuse me, you can cut that out.
No, don't worry. I don't edit anything. Life goes on. Someone's cutting a tree down, and life just goes on. That's how it goes. But I mean, you know, I believe that an artist is expressing what an artist wants to express. That's subjective. Sometimes I see it's beautiful. I mean, sometimes how does someone judge that? Yeah,
exactly.
You know, it's difficult, and I am sure that, to some degree, yes, I know that there are those that say there's certain criteria. I do understand that. From an educational standpoint, there are certain criteria that they may use. But after all, it might be subjective as well. I mean, because doesn't one individual looks at something, and I always feel art is visceral. It evokes emotion, whatever that emotion may be. And that can be different for everybody. So,
and the funny thing is, sometimes it's under the guise of objectivity, but what is objectivity? Object referral? Do we really want to be object referral, or do we want to be subject referral? And there's nothing wrong with that. We're all subjective people. We're all incarnations of divine, and we have our own job to do in the world. And it's unique, and it's okay. The unified field is absolute. It cannot cannot do all that
Mm-hmm.
unless it's incarnated through the different beings. And that's why we're here. And that's why this is so exciting to be on a podcast like this, to meet
Mm-hmm.
somebody who thinks alike, who feels this, who probably, yeah, you said when you were 12 years old, you started
Mm-hmm.
to meditate or read a book about meditation.
Yes.
It needs people like this to transform Kali Yuga from this heavy,
Mm-hmm.
materialistic, life is suffering, you got to tough it out, don't cry, all that BS of the past.
Mm-hmm.
It's turned. It's like it's going this way now, finally.
Mm-hmm.
And we're helping. We're holding up our sticks, Krishna holding up the mountain. And we're each participating in whatever way we feel called to do. And the more we're true to that, the more the whole world will be benefiting from it. And I'm not saying that with ego. Speaking of, that's another pet peeve of mine, in case you want to hear another pet peeve. People think the ego is bad. Okay, the ego is not bad, because if we didn't have an ego, meaning individuality, the first little impulse coming out of the unified field, coming out of celestial realms, coming out of abundance, if that wasn't there, we wouldn't be here. There would be no world. We need the ego. What we don't need is the overlay of all the trauma, all the stress, all the life experiences, past life and belief system and societal things and everything, that heavy, heavy load through which we have to filter our pure ego, that oftentimes gets misunderstood and labeled ego. And I just want to make very clear that in my humble opinion, humble as it may be, the ego is actually a wonderful, wonderful, divinely created spark that will help us achieve Satyuga, the highest form of human consciousness, Brahman consciousness for each of us. It needs that. It can't happen without it. So just to clarify that.
So now, where do you go from here? You still have students, of course. You have students that you teach singing, and you're still doing art.
Yes, I'm still doing art, and I'm preparing for my TED Talk. I'm re-editing my book, and probably within a year republishing it. The content will stay the same. So if anybody listening feels like getting the book, please get it. It has everything in it. You will not miss out on everything. The content will stay the same. The methodology stays the same. The part about why we don't sing, why it was drummed out of us, and why we absolutely have to, with some of the research in there. I will flesh that out and be slightly more accurate. I just made it back then because it had to be done. So this time, the new version will have more stories of clients and experiences and more in the research, but the content will stay the same. And the methodology, the 7 seconds that you learn at the end, will stay the same. So please feel very good about getting it now. It will also increase in price, of course, it has to. But right now it's only $14.95 still, and you get the book, and then you can go on YouTube and follow along with what I'm teaching in the book and watch me do it. And please learn it. And then
I'm going to put all those links down so people can find you. I'll put the YouTube links in the description, the book information. And now you teach, of course, in person, but do you teach online as well?
I give online healing sessions every now and then. I don't teach voice online. I didn't find that good enough because of the overlap, and I really don't, it's not my thing. I teach voice in person, but only a handful of people. I really try to focus on giving it to millions of people now. It is too valuable to just selfishly keep to myself and every week just teach those 5 lucky people. I don't say that because I'm full of it. I'm saying that, oh my God, have they grown? I had one specific individual who had never in his life been able to hear whether somebody was going up or down with the notes, who was basically tone deaf. And after 1 year, he sang the Star Spangled Banner a cappella without anything. Yeah. And I had, a teen girl who was cutting and suicidal and come to me 20 years ago. And after 3 months working with me, doing those 7 steps and doing some healing, of course, she moved to Europe, finished school, moved back to America, got married, is now a mom, has her own business, is super happy and grounded. Another very dramatic case, my most dramatic actually, and I didn't know this lady. She called me from California, and her daughter, her grown daughter, had not called her for 6 years, had not had any contact, and she had since a grandchild, a child of the daughter, grandchild. And she was just beside herself. And in the session, just one session, 1.5 hours, she kept referring to what the daughter did and what happened to her. And I said, no, we have to focus on you. Let's just focus on you. Do the 7 steps. Let's tap the stuff out and then go to your body and open the throat chakra and allow flow for the first time in your life since you were a baby. Allow flow in your body. Within 18 hours, she left me a message on my voicemail, which I kept for a long time until I needed a new phone. She said, Ulrike, you won't believe it. She called, daughter's name. She called me out of the blue without her reaching out and fretting and wanting and nothing. The daughter called her after 6 years and said, Mommy, I don't know what happened. I don't know why I wasn't in touch with you. I love the poncho that you crocheted for my girl. It fits her really well. We miss you. When can we see each other? I love you. She was crying on the phone. She could not believe it. But that is what happens when we tune into our own self, open that blocked throat chakra. We allow flow and communication in our own body. And then we live in each moment as if this was the only moment that counted, which is actually what it is like.
Right,
then
right.
the next moment unfolds. And all the stuff that we carry from the past and worry about the future, it just doesn't have as much bearing. I think I'm over time. Am I over time?
Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I mean, we could talk on and on, right? These are such interesting subjects, and there's so much to talk about. I mean, let's face it, it really is. I mean, you could just take your art alone and speak for an hour on that, right? I mean, and how much it helps everyone,
Maybe.
and
a lot of my childhood's my art, I realize,
and forget about the music and the singing. And I mean, that's a whole subject in and of itself. I mean, that could go on and on. I mean, how many people have been told, don't sing? What are you doing? You can't sing.
That's
you don't sound right. Stop doing that.
Exactly
and that has caused a lot of problem. So, that's a whole other conversation, right? And how your method helps them, not only to open up, but to realize that they can open up. Because how many
and that their voice is for themselves. That nobody has the right to tell them they shouldn't sing or they are off key. So you're off key. When I teach my people how to enliven the whole thing, I don't say, no, hit a third, a perfect third, and then a perfect octave. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Actually, when you do it intuitively, the voice will go where it wants to go anywhere. When I do, I didn't tell the voice, oh, now I want you to have this interval, and this doesn't sound good, and this is off key. No, it's just creating bubbly energy in my body, which is what you want, which is what my art does a little bit, the bubbly high frequency energy. And that's what we need in our body. That's what we need, because that is closer to self. That is closer to who we are naturally. And the closer we can come in every breath and every tone and every moment and every feeling and thought and speech and action and achievement to that feeling of divinity, who we actually are, the closer we are to the next moment, which leads us even closer to that. And then here we are in Brahman consciousness, you and I. Yay!
Indeed. Well, Ulrike, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on to speak to the audience about all these wonderful topics, important topics, things that are out there to help all of us to live better with each other, live better on the planet. I want to thank you again, and I will definitely put all the information in the description. Hopefully I can have you on again.
Yeah, I would love that.
And
I really love you. You have a very spunky energy. You're keeping it down now because I'm doing all the talking, but I really enjoy your energy. It's very wise, very silent on the inside, but very spunky and full of energy, and doing good for the world and always looking where else somebody needs help. And I think that's what we need these days. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this for the whole world.
Me too. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hopefully you can come on again. I would love to know where you're going to be showing your art. That would be lovely. Keep me posted.
I will.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a wonderful afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.